Longtime The View watchers know that the show thrives on controversy, and this is especially true when co-hosts get into it over heated topics. Based on recent updates making the rounds, one co-host admitted to crying following heated exchanges. So, what happened with this situation, and what do we know about it so far? Things often get heated on The View when you have a group of opinionated women discussing controversial topics. This is an automatic recipe for the claws to come out. Of course, this is exactly what a show like The View counts on. The more that cast members like Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar fly off the handle while discussing a hot take, the better it is for the ratings, and the better it is for the show as a whole. Each of the ladies on the panel comes with strong views that they are not afraid to defend. While things can often remain light among the ladies, they can just as easily explode, and co-hosts have been known to get in each other's faces over differing points of view. The View co-host admits to crying over heated topics. What happened? While the claws coming out among the co-hosts on The View is nothing new, there are times when things get a little too heated and things go a little too far. Recently, the topic of having safe spaces for people to cry at work came up among the panel. Sunny Hostin admitted, "I've never felt the luxury to be able to cry at work. I just try to get my work done, be as excellent as I can, and go home and chill out." However, things are different for Alyssa Farah Griffin, who often finds herself defending her positions on topics, while all of the other ladies appear to be against her. Griffin went on to say, "I have cried at this job at least a half a dozen times. Are you kidding? Have you done this job?" Whether you agree with Alyssa Farah Griffin's opinions on The View or not, it's no secret that as a conservative panelist, her views often differ from the rest of the more liberal panel. While this is good for the sake of discussion, it's clear that being the person who often ends up against the rest of the panel takes a toll on Griffin. Alyssa Farah Griffin, The View, that said, she was also quick to say that she loves her job. She went on to add, "I would like to state, for the record, this is a great job, and every time I have cried, Brian gives great hugs." What do you think of Alyssa Farah Griffin admitting to crying at work? Let us know in the comments below. Few television programs rely so openly and unapologetically on debate, heat, and even friction as ABC's The View. Since its debut in 1997, the show has marketed itself around the notion of 5 women and 1 hot topic, boasting an on-air chemistry that ranges from laughs and camaraderie to real arguments and occasionally ripped at the seams tension. Over its 25-plus years on the air, The View has featured an ever-changing roster of co-hosts, each bringing strong convictions, distinct personalities, and a willingness to spar with colleagues and sometimes viewers about everything from politics to pop culture. Recently, an exchange on the show took a turn that even veteran watchers found unexpectedly raw. Co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin admitted she has cried at work on The View at least a half dozen times. This revelation came amid a broader discussion about whether workplaces should offer safe spaces where employees can feel comfortable expressing their emotions. While some panelists described crying on the job as a privilege they rarely afford themselves, Griffin spoke candidly about how the pressure of defending her often divergent views can become overwhelming. In this in-depth feature, we examine the cultural DNA of The View and why heated debates are its lifeblood. The specific exchange that led Griffin to acknowledge tears behind the anchor desk, how co-hosts Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, and Whoopi Goldberg framed the conversation. Griffin's personal perspective on being the conservative voice in a predominantly liberal panel, the role of emotional vulnerability on live television, and what audiences think about it. Experts' insights into workplace crying, shame, survival, and possible solutions. Viewer reactions, social media echoes, and the broader discussion about mental health at work. What this moment reveals about the changing standards for authenticity and empathy on morning TV, potential long-term effects on the show's dynamics, and Griffin's trajectory as a commentator. Part 1. The genesis of The View's debate-driven model, approximate 450 words. ABC launched The View in August 1997 with a simple but bold premise. Gather a panel of women from diverse backgrounds with opposing viewpoints and air their unfiltered conversations in a live, daytime TV format. Creator Barbara Walters, already a broadcast legend, envisioned a show that would combine the intimacy of a living room chat with the immediacy of breaking news analysis. Over the years, The View's co-host lineup has ranged from journalists and politicians to comedians and lifestyle experts. Landmark moments include Rosie O'Donnell's outspoken liberal rights advocacy in the early 2000s, Elizabeth Hasselbeck's conservative-leaning interventions in the late 2000s, and Meghan McCain's tenure alongside Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg in the late 2010s. The show's very name underscores its core, a collection of views. By design, friction arises when panelists hold starkly different political philosophies, generational outlooks, or life experiences. As Whoopi Goldberg once quipped, "If you came for pablum, come back later." When clashes occur over presidential elections, social justice movements, or cultural controversies, the ratings spike. There's even an unspoken script. Build up a provocative headline, let panelists take firm stances, allow the sparks to fly, and then wrap with a measure of consensus or at least respectful sign-off. Yet beneath the theatrics, emotional stakes can be high. Panelists who regularly feel isolated in their viewpoints may cope by speaking louder, smiling through tension, or, at times, checking out. Rarely do they have the option to step off set when debate turns personal, because roughly 2 million viewers are watching each day. For The View's co-hosts, that pressure cooker environment has bred memorable confrontations. McCain versus Behar over abortion, Hasselbeck versus Behar on Saddam Hussein's trial, and countless exchanges that ended in raised voices, profanity, or even tears. On the February 14, 2024 episode, The View tackled the question, should modern workplaces designate safe spaces where employees can cry or decompress when stressed? The segment came in the wake of multiple corporate reports emphasizing mental health initiatives, quiet rooms, therapy stipends, and flexible schedules to support worker well-being. Co-host Sunny Hostin, herself a former federal prosecutor turned legal analyst, kicked things off by acknowledging her own experience. "I've never felt the luxury to be able to cry at work," she said. "I just try to get my work done, be as excellent as I can, and go home and chill out." Hostin's statement set a tone many viewers found relatable, a fear that showing vulnerability on the clock could undermine one's professional reputation. Enter Alyssa Farah Griffin, a seasoned political strategist and former White House communications director, who joined The View in 2020 as its first full-time conservative co-host. Known for her polished delivery and measured arguments, Griffin swiftly became accustomed to defending Republican viewpoints on a panel where most colleagues lean left. "I have cried at this job," Griffin admitted. "At least a half-dozen times, are you kidding? Have you done this job?" The room fell momentarily silent. Whoopi Goldberg adjusted her trademark eyeglasses. Joy Behar offered an "I hear you, Alyssa" nod. The exchange underscored the emotional toll of publicly debating contentious topics in real time. As soon as Griffin uttered those words, co-hosts responded in kind. Hostin softened, recalling her own tears behind closed doors. Goldberg, the show's moderator, described workplace crying as part of being human and pointed out that public figures often feel they must project stoicism. Behar, whose own career has spanned decades of televised debates, laughed ruefully. "Girl, same. We're on live television. I cry, I cuss. That's part of the territory." The moment, though raw, was punctuated by the warmth of shared experience. Off camera, viewers learned that Brian, The View's longtime showrunner and head producer, has taken on the unofficial role of resident comforter. "Every time I have cried, Brian gives great hugs," Griffin noted, prompting both laughter and applause. In a medium that prizes image and composure, the show's staff quietly broadcast a message: vulnerability need not be fatal for one's career. In fact, it can deepen audience connection.